10 Stoic lessons for inner discipline. No motivation needed. Everyone wants peace. But no one wants to do what peace requires. You say you want clarity, focus, purpose. But then you wake up and scroll. You say you want to lead yourself. But you follow every impulse that drags your mind away. It's not because you're weak. It's because the world is loud. And you haven't been trained to stay still inside of it. That's where discipline comes in. And that's where the Stoics begin. Marcus Aurelius wasn't born calm. He wasn't born wise. He became those things through fire, through habit, through repetition, through relentless self-honesty. While the world around him burned, he led. Not just as an emperor, but as a man who refused to be a slave to his own emotions. That's what made him powerful. Not how loud he was, but how still. The same applies to you. You don't need more motivation. You don't need a better routine. You need a philosophy. Something strong enough to hold you when your mood doesn't. Stoicism isn't cold. It's not about being numb. It's about learning how to feel everything, without being owned by any of it. And it starts with discipline. Not the punishment kind. The clarity kind. The kind that says, "This is who I am. This is what I do. No matter what." In this video, we'll walk through 12 timeless Stoic lessons to help you build that kind of discipline. Quiet. Consistent. Unshakable. Because in a world that pulls you in 100 directions, your greatest freedom will always be the ability to lead yourself. Let's begin. 1. Define your purpose clearly, every day. Discipline doesn't begin with action. It begins with clarity. You can't commit to something you haven't defined. You can't stay disciplined if you don't know what matters. That's why most people drift. Not because they're incapable, but because they wake up each day with no internal compass. So they chase trends. They follow noise. They confuse motion with meaning. And by the end of the day, they feel exhausted, without having moved any closer to who they truly want to be. Marcus Aurelius started almost every page of Meditations with reminders of death, of his nature, of his duty. Not because he was forgetful, but because he was human. And humans forget what matters when the world distracts them. That's why defining your purpose isn't something you do once. It's something you revisit daily. Not a long manifesto. Not a complicated plan. Just a few clear sentences, anchoring you to who you are and who you're becoming. Because when you know your purpose, everything changes. You say no more easily, because not everything fits your path. You stop chasing validation, because you've already chosen what to value. You build discipline, not through pressure, but through alignment. A Stoic doesn't act based on feeling. They act based on function. And your function, your unique contribution, needs to be remembered, reinforced, and returned to, every single day. Here's how you practice. 1. Ask yourself one question each morning. What kind of person do I want to be today? Not, what do I have to do? But, who do I want to be while I do it? 2. Write one line that affirms your direction. I'm building a calm, clear, resilient mind. Or, I'm showing up with integrity, even when no one's watching. 3. Filter your actions through that identity. Before you respond. Before you scroll. Before you say yes. Ask, does this serve the person I'm becoming? Discipline without direction is just force. But discipline with purpose? That's power. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to know what matters. And remind yourself before the world makes you forget. That's how the Stoic begins their day. That's how you build from the inside out. 2. Count on yourself, radical responsibility. You keep waiting. For someone to validate you. For someone to support you. For someone to tell you, you're on the right path. But here's the truth. No one is coming. Not because people don't care. But because it's not their job. It's yours. This is the foundation of Stoic self-discipline. Radical responsibility. You don't get stronger by outsourcing your decisions. You don't grow by waiting to be rescued. You grow the moment you stop blaming. And start owning. Epictetus said it clearly. Don't seek for things to happen as you wish. Seek for them to happen as they do, then you will be calm. It sounds simple. But it's not easy. Because responsibility is uncomfortable. It means facing your laziness without excuses. It means confronting your avoidance without a scapegoat. It means saying, if my life is a mess, I'm holding the broom. Most people never get there. They get stuck in blame. My parents didn't teach me. No one supports me. Life keeps getting in my way. And the Stoic sees through it all. Yes, your past shaped you. But it doesn't own you. Yes, people failed you. But that doesn't mean you keep failing yourself. When you take full responsibility for your choices, your energy shifts. You stop complaining. You start creating. You stop explaining. You start executing. Here's how a Stoic begins that shift. 1. Own everything you can control. Your mindset. Your reactions. Your daily effort. You may not control outcomes, but you always control your input. 2. Speak from power, not pity. Change the language from I can't do it because to here's what I'll do despite it. 3. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. Apply for the opportunity. Start the project. Create the habit. Without applause. Without permission. Responsibility isn't heavy when you stop resisting it. It's actually the lightest way to live. Because once you stop blaming, you start becoming. And no one can take that away from you. The Stoic doesn't wait. They act. From clarity. From ownership. From within. So ask yourself, where have I been waiting for someone else to do what I know I must do for myself? Start there. And move forward, with no excuses, and no permission needed. 3. Show up every day, consistency over intensity. You don't need another breakthrough. You need a routine. You don't need to go harder. You need to go longer. We live in a culture obsessed with intensity. 30-day transformations. Massive goals. All or nothing energy. But Stoicism doesn't care how loud your effort looks. It cares how steady it is. Marcus Aurelius didn't write Meditations in one feverish weekend. He wrote it day after day, between war councils, after funerals, during sickness. Not to impress. To stay grounded. That's the Stoic mindset. Don't make a scene. Make progress. You don't need to crush it today. You need to show up, quietly, even when it's inconvenient, especially then. Because consistency is proof. Proof that your goals aren't emotional whims. Proof that you're building something real. Proof that your word means something, even when no one's watching. And when others burn out chasing perfection, you'll still be there, calm, committed, becoming. Here's how a Stoic practices consistency. 1. Lower the bar. Raise the standard. Don't aim for perfect days. Aim for no 0 days. If you can't do an hour, do 10 minutes. But don't break the chain. 2. Detach from the outcome. Marry the process. You don't control how fast results show up. But you always control whether you show up. Seneca wrote, well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself. 3. Track effort, not emotion. You won't always feel like it. But feelings aren't facts. Keep a calendar. Mark each day you followed through. That streak? That's your momentum, not motivation. Discipline isn't built on motivation spikes. It's built in silence. In the moments no one sees. In the decisions no one applauds. You don't need to impress today. You just need to show up. And when you do that enough times in a row, you become unrecognizable to the person you used to be. Because the most stoic act isn't a grand gesture. It's a quiet decision, repeated relentlessly. Don't try harder. Come back tomorrow. 4. Embrace voluntary discomfort. Train inner strength through simplicity. Modern life teaches us to avoid discomfort. Heated seats. One-tap delivery. Algorithms that show us only what we already like. We've made life easier. But we've also made ourselves weaker. Stoicism flips that. It says, don't run from discomfort. Train with it. Because the person who avoids all pain can't handle any. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome, yet he regularly practiced sleeping on the floor, wearing rough clothes, and eating the simplest food. Why? To remember that comfort is a preference, not a necessity. To prove to himself that he could endure far more than he thought. He wrote, set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, while saying to yourself the whole time, is this the condition I feared? That's not self-punishment. That's preparation. Because life will get uncomfortable, eventually. Someone will leave. A door will close. Your plans will fall apart. And when that happens, the Stoic doesn't panic. They've already trained. Here's how to practice voluntary discomfort in your modern life. 1. Do something hard, on purpose. Take a cold shower. Wake up earlier than you want. Walk somewhere instead of driving. You don't do this to suffer. You do it to prove, I am not ruled by ease. 2. Remove one comfort each week. Skip a meal. Don't use your phone in the morning. Sleep without Netflix. Choose presence over pleasure. It's not deprivation. It's clarity. 3. Sit with silence. No input. No escape. Most people scroll the moment they feel bored or alone. The Stoic sits in that discomfort. Because silence sharpens awareness. And awareness is the root of control. Discomfort won't break you. It reveals you. And the more often you meet it voluntarily, the less it controls you involuntarily. This isn't about becoming numb. It's about becoming unshakable. So don't just survive pain. Train with it. Because the person who trains discomfort commands their calm when others lose it. 5. Master the dichotomy of control. Focus on what's yours. There are two kinds of pain in life. The pain of effort. And the pain of trying to control what was never yours. The Stoics made one distinction that changed everything. What's in your control, and what isn't? Epictetus called it the first and most important lesson of philosophy. Because once you understand this, you stop wasting energy. You stop being dragged by opinions, outcomes, moods, and external chaos. You become untouchable. Here's the truth. You don't control what happens. You only control how you meet it. You don't control how they respond. You only control the honesty in your words. You don't control the outcome. You only control your input. And that's more than enough. But most people live upside down. They obsess over what they can't influence and ignore what they can. They refresh the email inbox. They rehearse conversations that never happen. They chase applause while their habits fall apart. That's why they feel overwhelmed. The Stoic takes the opposite path. They return to what is fully theirs. Their thoughts, their actions, their character, their attitude. They don't waste time trying to bend the wind. They adjust their sail. Here's how you practice the dichotomy of control. 1. Audit your current stress. Ask, am I worrying about something I can actually affect? If not, step back. Breathe. Reclaim your mental space. 2. Create a control column. Take out a sheet of paper. On the left, list what's in your control: effort, focus, sleep, words. On the right, what's not: results, weather, other people. Then double down on the left. 3. Repeat the mantra. That's not mine. When someone criticizes you unfairly. That's not mine. When a plan changes beyond your will. That's not mine. When the world spins, you stay still. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is what Stoic discipline is built on. The ability to let go of the external and master the internal. You don't need to control the world. You just need to command your response to it. And in that, you find the freedom that no one can take. 6. Never play the victim. Respond, don't blame. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. And victimhood? That's a choice. Yes, bad things happen. Yes, people betray, lie, ghost, disappoint. But your power begins the moment you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I do now that it has?" The Stoic never plays the victim. Not because life is easy, but because blame is mental slavery. When you blame others, you give them ownership over your peace. When you blame circumstances, you abandon your ability to adapt. You become reactive, not responsible. You wait to be saved, instead of stepping up. You spiral emotionally, instead of anchoring internally. That's not strength. That's surrender to chaos. Marcus Aurelius endured betrayal, war, sickness, and unimaginable pressure, yet never once in Meditations did he say, "This isn't fair." Instead, he wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. If not, stop complaining. Your choice." Modern life rewards victimhood with attention. But attention won't save you. Clarity will. Here's how the Stoic reclaims their response. 1. Separate fact from story. What happened is one thing. The narrative you build around it? That's what creates suffering. Ask, am I describing reality or dramatizing it? 2. Replace blame with action. Instead of, "They made me feel this way." Try, "I allowed this feeling, what can I learn from it?" Instead of, "This ruined me." Say, "This is shaping me." 3. Turn wounds into work. Let your anger become fuel for discipline. Let your pain become a reason to get stronger. Let your story become something worth telling, not because you suffered, but because you rose above it. Blame feels good, for a while. It comforts the ego. But it poisons progress. The Stoic chooses discomfort over delay. Ownership over outrage. Quiet rebuilding over loud complaint. And in doing so, they transform the hardest moments of life into the raw material of strength. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to do with it. Next. 7. Delay gratification, freedom from impulse. You feel it. That urge to check your phone. That itch to say something sharp. That craving to quit when it gets uncomfortable. Modern life is built to reward impulse. One-click delivery, instant likes, 15-second dopamine hits. But here's what the Stoics knew. He who cannot delay pleasure is already enslaved. Seneca wrote, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." But many also suffer from the opposite, chasing what feels good now, and paying for it later. This is the silent destroyer of discipline, the belief that comfort is urgent. But the Stoic sees through the illusion. They know freedom isn't doing what you want. It's not needing to act on every urge. Every time you delay gratification, you grow stronger. Not because you're denying yourself joy, but because you're choosing joy that lasts. Pleasure fades. Character compounds. Here's how to practice Stoic restraint in real life. 1. Catch the impulse before it becomes action. When you feel the urge, pause. Ask, is this aligned with my values, or is this just a craving? Train the pause. That's where power lives. 2. Choose long-term identity over short-term emotion. Don't ask, what feels good now? Ask, what kind of person am I becoming through this choice? Discipline isn't denial. It's direction. 3. Practice controlled discomfort. Skip the sweet. Hold the silence. Let the desire pass. Not forever, just for now. Each time you win the small battle, you strengthen the muscle of self-command. And over time, those tiny wins build the version of you no one can shake. Remember, every urge obeyed without awareness is a step toward weakness. But every urge examined and passed over is a step toward freedom. The Stoic doesn't kill emotion. They command it. They don't suppress desire. They choose when to act on it. And in that choice, they stop being owned by the world and start owning themselves. That is true freedom. And it's built one delayed impulse at a time. 8. Ignore the naysayers. External opinions are noise. Everyone has an opinion, and most of them aren't rooted in truth. They're projections. Projections of fear, insecurity, jealousy, or misunderstanding. The question isn't, what will they think? The question is, why does their opinion get to control your direction? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but we care more about their opinion than our own. Let that sink in. You are the one who wakes up with yourself. You are the one who lives with your decisions. So why let the passing noise of someone else shape your identity? Because here's the truth. You will be misunderstood. You will be judged. You will be criticized, especially when you grow. But the Stoic doesn't flinch. They observe the judgment and keep moving. Because they know, if it isn't true, it can't harm me. If it is true, then it's a chance to improve. You don't need approval. You need alignment. You don't need applause. You need direction. Here's how to practice Stoic detachment from opinions. 1. Filter feedback by source. Ask, does this person live by values I respect? If not, their opinion is noise, not guidance. Don't let people who wouldn't trade places with you influence your path. 2. Audit your triggers. If a comment stings, ask, what part of me is still unsure? That's your inner work, not their responsibility. What triggers you reveals where you've yet to self-validate. 3. Shift from proving to practicing. Stop trying to explain your vision to people committed to misunderstanding it. Live it. Let your results speak. Let your silence hold power. The Stoic doesn't argue with every opinion. They aren't addicted to being right. They're devoted to being centered. Because the moment you let someone's words steer your course, you've handed over your peace. So listen deeply. Reflect carefully. But always act from within. The wind will howl. Let it. You're the mountain. 9. Emulate the wise. Let their example guide you. You become who you watch. Not who you admire, but who you quietly imitate. Every habit, every tone, every reaction. Your mind is shaped by repetition. And most repetition comes from observation. That's why the Stoics didn't just read philosophy. They watched the wise. They chose their influences like they chose their food, carefully, consciously, with long-term health in mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you want to delight yourself, think of the virtues of those who live with you." He didn't say, "Look for perfect people." He said, "Watch for virtue. Then practice it until it becomes your own." In a world of influencers, algorithms, and endless advice, you need discernment. Not every voice deserves a seat in your mind. Not every opinion deserves a page in your journal. So here's the Stoic approach. 1. Choose your inner circle, mentally. Not everyone you follow online should shape your values. Curate a mental council of people you'd be proud to resemble. They don't have to be famous. Just anchored in something real. Ask, if I lived more like them, would I become more like who I want to be? 2. Study behavior, not branding. Don't get distracted by aesthetics or charisma. Watch how they handle failure. Watch how they treat people who can't offer anything in return. That's who they really are. 3. Reflect, then adapt. Pick one quality you admire: clarity, calm, courage. Then ask daily, how can I embody this in my own way today? Not copy. Not pretend. Integrate it, authentically, patiently, deliberately. Seneca advised, associate with those who will make a better man of you. But that association isn't always physical. It can be mental, spiritual, invisible. You don't need more information. You need better inspiration, filtered through the lens of who you want to become. And here's the Stoic truth. Eventually you become someone worth emulating too. Not because you're flawless, but because you lived intentionally, learned constantly, and practiced what you admired. So ask, who is already living the peace, purpose, and discipline I want? Then don't just admire them. Let their life sharpen yours. 10. Reflect daily. Accountability with compassion. You can't grow without feedback. But the most important feedback isn't from the world. It's from yourself. The Stoics believed in daily reflection. Not as self-judgment. Not as shame. But as clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, not to impress others, but to keep himself grounded, aligned, awake. He asked himself, did I act according to reason? Was I just? Disciplined? Brave? Did I do what I came here to do today? Not every day was perfect. Not every entry was kind. But every reflection was real. Because the goal of Stoicism isn't perfection. It's progress. It's honesty. And it's a quiet refusal to drift. Here's the truth. If you don't reflect, you'll repeat. Not out of intention, but out of unconsciousness. Without reflection, you forget your values. You become reactive. And eventually, you wake up in a life you never chose. Because you never stopped to course correct. But when you reflect, you see clearly. You remember what matters. And you adjust, before life forces you to. Here's how to reflect like a Stoic. 1. Ask yourself 3 questions each night. Where did I live aligned with my values today? Where did I slip, and why? What can I do better tomorrow? Keep it simple. Keep it honest. No drama. No self-hate. 2. Write, don't scroll. Even 3 minutes of journaling will serve you more than 30 minutes of distraction. Get your thoughts out of your head. That's how you reclaim clarity. 3. Pair reflection with forgiveness. You will fail. You will forget. You will fall short. Don't use reflection as a weapon. Use it as a mirror, and then get back to work. Seneca wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day. I conceal nothing from myself, I omit nothing." That's how discipline becomes identity. By seeing yourself fully. And choosing again and again to act like the person you claim you want to be. You don't need 100 answers. You need one quiet moment of truth. Do that daily. And over time, your character transforms. Not by chance. By design. A disciplined life is a free life. You've just walked through 12 Stoic lessons. Not theories. Not quotes to decorate your journal. But practices, designed to build something rare. A life ruled by principle, not by impulse. And if you're here at the end, you're not just someone who's curious. You're someone who's ready. Ready to do the work. To move from inspiration to integration. Because here's what the Stoics knew. The world will always be chaotic. People will always be reactive. Life will always test you. But discipline, true inner discipline, is what makes you unshakable in the storm. It doesn't mean you won't feel fear, or frustration, or fatigue. It means you won't be controlled by them. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire in crisis. Wars, plague, betrayal. And yet, his most powerful words were not commands to his armies, but reminders to himself. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's the Stoic challenge. Not to be perfect, but to be intentional. To act from purpose, not from pressure. To move from your values, not your urges. So ask yourself, will I still chase comfort, or will I train strength through simplicity? Will I wait to be rescued, or will I take radical responsibility for my path? Will I keep checking who's watching? Or finally live in a way I can respect, even if no one sees? Because here's the quiet truth. Discipline is not restriction. It's liberation. It frees you from regret, from indecision, from the addiction to approval, from the roller coaster of feeling like it, and giving up again. The person who is truly free is the person who can govern themselves. Not rigid, not robotic, just grounded, clear, honest, and consistent. That's what you're building now. Not overnight. Not in one video. But day by day, one reflection, one habit, one moment of stillness at a time. You don't need to rush. You don't need to master all 12 lessons today. You just need to start. To pick one, apply it with sincerity, and return to it tomorrow. And the next day. And the next. That's what the Stoic does. They don't seek applause. They don't need perfection. They show up, especially when no one else does. And eventually, the noise around them fades. The chaos outside calms. Because the war within has been won. That's the Stoic life. And if you live it, you won't need to talk about it. People will feel it when you enter the room. Not because you're loud, but because you're anchored. Subscribe to True Stoic Mindset. If you're ready to stop consuming and start becoming. We don't chase trends here. We build inner strength, one timeless principle at a time. This isn't the end. It's your beginning. Let's walk forward, quietly, intentionally, and powerfully.